Smoking, drugs use is harmful to health. All stories and the characters in this story are fictional. Cold Tuber's only purpose is to entertain the audience. Coincidence of any character with the plot of the story is purely coincidental.
Tony could not go to school that day because he fell sick. Otherwise there is another reason, and that is Happy will not be seen today. So he finished his breakfast and sat down to read. In fact, sitting down to read and write a letter to Happy.
Dear Happy, I don't know, and the desire to know is almost gone. You know why I have known you so closely? I have felt so close that to know the news of every vein of my blood circulating. The only thing I still don't understand, and that is you. I have known you for a long time, but the relationship of understanding seems to be far more than the feeling of knowing. That's why you are so far away today. Two bonds in human life. One life, another the society. But sometimes it is too late to feel the closure of society. And then the trouble increases. I don't understand if you know, but every time I see you, there is instability in you. The funny thing is, I can keep an eye on you. Don't be afraid of shame, if you turn away. One of your sarcastic remarks seems to haunt me, but does not let anyone understand, because I always look at destiny with pressing pain for you. No more today. Tony.
Feeling quite hot since morning. Getting ready to go to school. The school will reopen today after several days of summer vacation.
It is as if a mystery is at work in my mind. I will meet my friends after many days. The bigger thing is that I will meet Happy today.
That day was half school, so the pressure of study is not so much. Tony arrived at the school at exactly 7 o'clock. Everyone gathered at the assembly ground. The national anthem has just begun. But Tony doesn't mind the national anthem, his two eyes are constantly looking for Happy. Looking around and seeing the line of girls, he saw Happy. Everything seemed to be filled with a sweet smile as soon as she saw it from looking behind. But Tony does not mind the assembly. He looks around happily. As she fixes repeatedly, with her hands the blows hair in the wind, looks so beautiful and pretty. Tony makes his mind and looks at her again and again. After that Tony came to the classroom and see Happy talk with Tony's another friend so closely. He became a little more emotional with the words between of them, as well as showing this, he cut his hand with batch pen and wrote a note with blood. I love you. Friends were applauding that day, but who knew Tony had relied on that day, for many years. Mem delivered that letter. After a while, Tiffin's bell rang. Tony stood on the balcony and suddenly saw Happy coming. Tony stood in front of her with a kind of fear. Happy is very angry. But even in anger, Tony found love in Happy's eyes for him.
What does all this mean, Tony? I do not expect you that way. That's the decent thing to do, and it should end there.
This arrogance seemed like a good home to Tony. Tony stood to break the standard. The end bell rang, and everyone came out. Tony apologized to Happy. She smiled softly and left. Next day Happy looked like a winged fairy. Happy looked different from everyone else in the classroom. Third period was agronomy, and the girls had geology. All the girls of the two sections went to another class together in the hall. And all boys stayed in the room together like in a combined class. Tony went and sat at Happy's desk earlier, beside the window. Her water flask was kept by desk. Tony took a bouquet of flowers out of his pocket and wrapped it in her water flask. The bell rang, and the class was over. Tony himself went to the desk and sat down. After some time Tony back to Happy's class and face uncertainty. Just look at Tony's. First she took the garland in hand, then threw the garland at Tony. Tony can be caught but stop, because just then teacher entered to the class. Garland fell to the floor. And Mim hid it from teacher's eyes by pushed it under her feet. Tony's mind became very bad. Tiffin is to finish class. Everyone went out. Happy, called Tony. But at that time Tony just escaped from this situation, without listen, what Happy really want to say to him. It is unknown at this time what he will do after leaving the post. After the end of the tiffin session, he returned to the class and saw that Happy was red with anger. Relaxed, it was wrong. So to break the anger, Tony was waiting for Happy after school in the garden. After a while Happy is just leave the school gate.
Happy, I am really sorry for this moment. If you don't mind, please tell me what to say.
What do you think? Was I calling you to offer love?
Happy left. Tony stared at Happy's departure like a mute, silenced and think, if she neither calling me for love but for what?